So we have a flash talk with University Malaya. The topic is restarting research. The COVID-19 pandemic has arguably changed our society as we continue to adapt to the new normal of social distancing, restricted travel, and increasingly uncertain economic outlook. For research universities, as the start of academic semester begins, the effects of the pandemic are only just becoming apparent. Uncertainty remains regarding international students, social distancing measures, on-campus and potential impact for funding and research agendas. Today's Flash Talk will focus on how research universities will be restarting research in a post-COVID-19 world. Joining me today is Professor Noorsaadah Abd Rahman, who's the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation for University Malaya, the top-ranked university in Malaysia. And I'm delighted to have you joining us today.
Thank you, Anders.
And as a first question, let me ask you the following. Do you think universities are effectively adapting to the pandemic as it comes now in waves?
Yes, I think we are. Maybe not as fast as we would like to, but we are adapting very, as quickly as we can to, working in what we call the new normal, right? Where most of us, are now working, basically either online or working from home. So, I think there will be several more adjustments that needs to be made, particularly for those who requires, the physical presence in the university. But that adjustment is being made from time to time.
Yeah, and this actually brings me to the next question: is the restricted travel still having an impact on your university?
In a sense, yes or no. Traveling in terms of conferences, most of our researchers would travel to actually attend conferences or meet their collaborators abroad. But technology, as I mentioned earlier, has moved forward. Where they can do online meeting. And in fact, I think most of the researchers now are very active in doing webinars and conference online. Which I think is more helpful because they can do more meetings or conferences online than they can do when they travel, to meet face-to-face.
Yeah, I sometimes find it almost easier to set up meetings when you set them up online because it's easier to manage time at times.
Yes, I think that is one of the things that we found, very useful is that meetings that are set up for 1 hour will go within 1 hour instead of 1 hour and a half or something while waiting for everybody to be ready. So I think, this actually is very helpful. And we see researchers actually telling me that they actually also do attend, workshops and conferences even at midnight because these conferences are being held, or these webinars are being held in Europe or the US, where it's midnight here when it is the morning time there. So I think some researchers are able to function better in such situations.
Mm. So in this new normal, is this actually the future of collaboration and sharing of research, doing things more online?
Yes, it's true. I think the only difficulty is when you require, some, work within the laboratories or within, places where you require, physical meetings. But, I think these, many have adjusted to the, the new normal.
Mm-hmm. So one question one can have is actually, will there be any change in the research impact in 2020 due to these changes and as we move beyond 2020?
I think there would be a slight change in sense that some of the work that we need to do, particularly engagement with the community, that has been reduced dramatically because we do not want to transmit the COVID infections. But so that may slow things down a little bit, although we can see the impact, in terms of translation through research output. In terms of publication, people will be reading a lot more. But the practical aspect of it may not be as as fast as what we would like to do. However, University Malaya has actually done some work, that actually involve community. This morning, for example, we have STEM working with Samsung on a Samsung's platform to actually have competition amongst school children to impart the STEM awareness and knowledge amongst school children. So I think they are coming up with new innovative way on how to do translation work to the community, I think.
Yeah. And can I ask a follow-up question, actually, since Professor Noorsaadah, you're in charge of research and innovation as well. Has your discussion with companies changed as well as in a new way of working, so to speak?
Not exactly, because as we mentioned earlier, it is a lot easier now to set up meetings. So we have a lot of meetings with companies online, and what, for example, our engineering faculty has what they call an adopt an industry, and with the industry adopt an engineer program, which they usually would send some engineering faculty or students to the industry. But now what they do is, to actually communicate more online, with the engineers, so you can have more time in terms of research. We also recently have, a meeting with a bunch of industries, and we had a small meeting with them, with quite a number. But subsequently, we agreed that this can be broken up into smaller groups, and we will have a better, more effective meetings, online, because then you will not involve as many, and you can be as focused and targeted as possible. So at the moment, in terms of our industry engagement, it is doing well online. I think most industries as well, including Malaysia, tend to be working from home online now. So, and we just set up a meeting with a pharmaceutical company about 10 minutes ago with the researchers, on proceeding to the next step in their research. So, which I think is not as difficult as what we thought it would be originally.
Yeah. Yeah. To touch upon what you brought up already earlier, if you go to a post-COVID world, how do you see the role institutions, research universities should play in shaping the science and research in society?
Okay, I think one of the things that university does best is actually to create knowledge in terms of doing their research to actually enhance the knowledge. However, as we said earlier, it may not be as easy as to go into the labs now to actually come up with new technologies or new knowledge. But we have embarked on I know you know about this, Anders, Open Science Initiative in Malaysia, where we hope to actually have the data on a platform that can be shared, which means researchers will be able to actually get access to some data that already has been generated years ago, maybe, which you do not know about, and they can actually maybe look into this data, secondary data, and maybe synthesize this data and come up with new knowledges. Okay, so I think this will also help us to actually maybe create impact from previous research that has been done, but maybe it sits somewhere in somebody's lab book, waiting to be translated, or or waiting to be expanded. So this hopefully this will be one initiative that actually can help us progress forward And maybe from all this information and data that we have, we can actually help industries move forward as well as community move forward.
Yeah, that would be one way for industry to actually see more what is done at the universities, and also perhaps other universities to be able to reuse some of the data, come with new interpretations, etc., etc. So it can help to drive innovation indeed.
Yes. So we also have, apart from the Open Science, University Malaya has the Open Science Initiative. This is also a national initiative, and also the Academy of Sciences Malaysia has actually also have another program called iConnect, and that iConnect is for industry to connect to university through online in order for them to actually access the researchers with information and knowledge that the researchers have to have more open innovation. So I think hopefully this will work better because I think researchers also may have extra time instead of being in the lab focusing too much on their work, to be able to also think and look at the data that has already been generated and actually help the industry move forward.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective actually, that I've seen that also from friends, that they are now working to write papers and actually go deeper into theory now when they cannot do some of the experiments at this stage. Yeah. So very, very interesting. Basically, as a final question, I'd like to ask, from your perspective, Professor Noorsaadah, at your university, what have been the best kind of example of how you have managed this transition to more to this new normal?
The best example? Okay, let's see. But the best one of the example I mentioned earlier was the Samsung, with our research center on STEM, moving forward with, looking at competition with school children on a topic called Solve for Tomorrow, to look at challenges that are in the industry as well as community, and how we can use technology, or disruptive technology to help solve the problems in the community for tomorrow. We are also working with various community and industry. Actually, what this also helped, we recently have one initiative that we worked with a set of community that also brings in the industry, because actually originally the industry approached us because they needed, to make sure that the community has clean water. So we actually were able to move in there, to actually help them with getting the clean water technology. And the reason I think, this happened was, because of COVID, because, now, people have time to sit down and reflect and, search for information and technology available and get connected. So, so the industry was able to actually come or see what we have done in the university and actually come and connect with us. So we were able to now work with them in helping, the community get clean water. So, I think those are some examples that we have within the university.
Oh, thank you. That was a very, very nice example, actually. And I'd like to thank you very much for the time.